Yeah, it's really cheaper than any place around. So that's where I went. So take a look at it next time you go by.
Fine, how are you?
For what?
Welcome.
I don't know what that is.
I know.
I don't know, you don't want to share with your car, man. For the price of gas, you know, I realize it's not cheap, but you sure don't want to screw it up with that.
Yeah. Yeah. How was graduation?
This looks like a phone in my shoulder. It's a total replacement.
Oh, was it a total replacement? My brother-in-law had two of them.
I'll need this one.
He had them within like 6 feet of me.
I'm gonna do this one another year too.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome everyone to our special committee meeting tonight, Monday, May 4th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to kick it off with Finance Committee, Councilwoman Greenfield.
Thank you, Council President King. The Finance Committee meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. Tonight we'll be discussing Ordinance 2618, authorizing the purchase agreement for Mastic Road properties. I'd like to introduce Megan Otter, our Assistant Development Director, and she will be leading the presentation tonight. We do have several guests who will be speaking on behalf of the documents that we were able to collect that the committee, that the council members and residents have requested regarding this property. Thank you, Megan, so much for being here tonight. And everyone else, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Thank you. We're going to start off by going over several studies that the city commissioned for the project at 22100 Mastic Road. Property is right there, as you can see highlighted in yellow. Just a little background, we had a reallocation of $1 million in ARPA money to fund the new location for the service garage, and it was approved by the Cuyahoga County Council on February 24th, 2026. We did look at alternative sites, one of them being where the current service garage is in the rear, but has limited area and cannot accommodate future growth. We also looked at the lot in front of the Gemini, kind of next to the Gemini Center, that was just demoed, and it has insufficient space for the needs of the service department. The lot next to Minotti's, kind of across the street from City Hall, does not meet space requirements as it only has 0.78 acres. And we have also looked at locations outside of the city, just insufficient and practical, just does not work for what service department needs. We looked at 6 studies. The studies came from Manick & Smith Group and American Structure Point. All of the studies went to Board of Control to get approval. In total, the 6 studies cost around $28,000. And we are still kind of waiting on one from the land bank. It was a property value assessment. It was just a lot of data for them to analyze, so we have not gotten that back yet. But we are here to talk about the 6 studies that we have. So the first one I'm going to introduce is Manick & Smith, Kim Kerber.
Hi everyone, I'm Kim Kerber. I'm a senior associate at the Manick & Smith Group, and I'm also the consulting engineer for the City of Fairview Park. You usually see me over there on the corner of the desk. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Ohio. I've been doing this for 31 years. I just want to touch briefly on, as being a licensed PE in the state of Ohio, we are held to a very high ethical standard. And, we always strive to meet those ethical standards regardless of any situations. So I'm here to talk about a few different studies. The first one is a phase 1 environmental site assessment. This was performed, and it looks for things that might be on the site that would devalue the site, such as underground storage tanks, asbestos, things like that in the building, or if there were any prior uses of the parcel. This study did not find any items of concern on the existing parcel. We also did a geotechnical soil assessment. We took 2 soil borings on the site. We went to a depth of 20 feet. The soils came back pretty standard to what's in this part of Ohio. Some of the areas at the surface had a little standing water, a little wetness. So the recommendation was that some soil stabilization, which is, cutting out some soil and adding some stone under future pavement areas. But foundation slabs, pavement designs, they're all buildable on the site. The third thing that we looked at was just a summary of a noise analysis that was previously completed by EnviroScience for ODOT. This was completed prior to ODOT's implementation of the noise walls that are currently being built on 480. And during this summary, we determined, or we read in the study, that I-480 causes much of the existing noise level in the area, and it ranges from 66.2 dBA to 75 dBA. dBA is a decibel average, and in this study, the readings were taken over a 1 hour period, so it's the average noise over a 1 hour period. Noise at the so when you look at these dBAs, some of these levels were reaching the level of 60, I think it's 67 for a residential area, that once you exceed that, it becomes louder than permitted, or not permitted, desirable. So there were those readings in the area that were above that 67 range. And since those levels are determined over an hour period, and based on discussions with the service department about how the operation of the service department is, the trucks, the workers come in, the trucks leave, the trucks come back, they leave, so they're not on the site making constant noise. We don't think that there will be any impacts to the existing noise levels in the area. Next slide. So the next thing we looked at was the threatened and endangered species investigation. This looks at, I think, about 9 different species and plants, and the only one that was determined to have a potential impact was the Indiana bat. And there are some trees, the mature trees on the site, that could be potential bat habitats. So the way to avoid adverse impacts to this is by only doing seasonal clearing, which is between October 1st and March 31st each year. So it doesn't stop a site from being built, it just restricts when you can do the clearing. There were no effects from the other species that were investigated. And the final item that we looked at was surface water or wetlands delineation. There were 3 wetlands denoted on site, totaling 0.158 acres, or less than 6% of the site's total. These wetlands were measured to be Category 1, which is the lowest grade wetland, which has low ecological quality. So when you have wetlands on a site, you can fill those wetlands if you choose to. You just have to get permitting. If you disturb less than 1/10 of an acre, you don't have to mitigate or pay for a mitigation bank. If you disturb more than 1/10 of an acre, you have to pay mitigation fees. You still have to get a permit from either the Army Corps or the EPA, depending on if they're isolated or jurisdictional. That's the 401, the 404 permits. And this does not pose a significant impact to the development of the site. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Megan.
Thank you, Kim. And I forgot to make a disclaimer that all of these studies are available on the website for individuals to take a look at. So the next speaker is American Structure Point, who did the traffic study.
Hey, good evening. My name is Anthony Pizzanelli. I'm a principal with American Structure Point. I'm a professional engineer licensed here in Ohio. I also have Ben Morgan with me, who's our lead traffic engineer presenting the details of the study. But we were commissioned by the city to do a traffic study of the site to analyze with the full build of the new service garage, what the impact on the road, the nearby roadway and the intersection would be with the vehicles coming in and out. And essentially the study was performed in accordance with the Ohio Department of Transportation guidelines, FHWA, and meets, the requirements of all, engineering ethical standards. So I'll let Ben give a quick update.
Thanks, Anthony. As Anthony mentioned, my name is Ben Morgan with American Construction Point. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of Ohio as well. I've been practicing for about 8 years, and I've done dozens and dozens of traffic studies like this. I have lots of experience with them. So, as Anthony mentioned, I'll start with the findings of the study. We found that the traffic operations will remain consistent, and so to boil it down, basically a traffic impact study is twofold. It's an analysis of the existing traffic operations as they currently stand, and then there's an estimation of the peak hour traffic. We're focused on the 1 hour, the peak demand, usually in the AM or PM, as we were in this case, and develop an understanding of what you expect that site to generate from a peak hour perspective in terms of traffic. Apply that traffic to the background, to the existing conditions, and then reevaluate the parameters that you're looking at, whether it be turn lanes or capacity. Those are the two main that we focused on in this study. And then as you reevaluate, determine whether or not the additional traffic from the site will have an impact on the surrounding road network. So like I said, we found that traffic operations will continue to remain as they are. We estimated, given that there's no land use code, and that's a term that we use in the traffic study world, which is basically the industry's way of summarizing if you're building a residential subdivision, you can estimate how many peak hour trips that residential subdivision would generate based on its size. For something unique like this, in a case like this, there isn't a land use code that we could work off of, so based on the number of service vehicles, we had developed the peak hour trip generation, which is 60 peak trips. And to define a trip is either enter or exit. So when we say 60 peak hour trips in both the AM and the PM, what we're saying is there's going to be 30 vehicles entering the site and 30 vehicles exiting the site within that hour. And then from there, like I said, we followed, as Anthony mentioned, ODOT's and the nationally recognized standards for traffic impact studies like this, and found that there was no turn lanes warranted at the site drive, and that there's not going to be any impacts to level of service or capacity at any of these study area intersections. So I think that covers it.
Thank you. And the last person we have is Roger with RFC Contracting. He is currently the construction manager at risk for the Gemini project. Owner's rep, sorry. I apologize. The owner's rep for the Gemini project. Because this project will be phased, so it has phases and costs associated with those phases.
Good evening. My name is Roger Riashi. I'm with RFC Contracting. We're the owner's rep currently on your pool project, the Gemini project. I was asked to look at some of the documents, the very, very preliminary drawings that we were given to look at the different structures that would go on the campus, and we to put some numbers together. What we use to put the estimates together is purely square foot price using today's dollar. If those projects were going to be built within the next 6 to 12 months, these are the numbers that we came up with. These are all based on square footage, size of the buildings, some of the information we knew about what these buildings would look like, and not look like, but what's the composition of the materials that would be used to construct these buildings and the site that's around it. And that's how we derived these numbers that we came up with.
Thank you, Roger. I think Jennifer Pay, our finance director, had just a few things to add.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Fay. I am the finance director and the HR manager for the city of Fairview Park. So what is before council is the opportunity to purchase the land in the building. What is not before council is these numbers right now. And the reason being is the city just does not have the financial capacity at this time to construct these buildings. Um, Probably the existing building improvements, the 300,000 of just making sure that there's a locker area and showers and office space, is doable, and then working to come up with monies for, site development. So with that being said, these costs to be built out in, 6 to 12 months is not going to happen in 6 to 12 months. We are looking at multi-years of the service garage being built. Reason being is it just the fiscal situation of the city. So looking at potential grants, do we have capacity for debt? And what are the other priorities in the community for, debt that we need? Like, what's Lorraine Road going to cost? What's Westwood going to cost? We're going to be issuing debt for 210. So I know Brian and doesn't want to hear this. He wants to have it built tomorrow, and all of us do, because we are not protecting our assets with the current situation that we have. But what we have before council is an opportunity that many communities do not have. We have a parcel of land that fits the need, and we have funding to purchase that land. And that does not mean that a service garage is going to go up in the next 6 to 12 months. But we're doing our due diligence in assembling the land, and hopefully council will pass that, because this is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. The last thing on our PowerPoint is rezoning information. So the Mastic Road property is currently zoned General Business A, which is our widest range of zoning. I think the list of usable uses, allowable uses, is about 3 pages. So it is pretty broad in what it allows. And we would have to rezone it to civic or recreation to allow for the service garage. In 2019, the zoning within the city got changed. So we had an ordinance passed in July of 2019 to eliminate the requirement for voter approval of zoning changes, and then the November election pushed that approval with 85% of the residents approving that change. The rezoning process can be quite lengthy. It has to go to planning and design. It has to go to council with 3 reads, and it also has to have 2 public meetings. So again, it's not a straightforward process. It requires time. It requires lining everything up. It is even difficult to offer an exact timeline, because that timeline could change. But it is multiple steps. It won't just happen overnight, and it will allow for multiple public meetings. And that is all we have tonight.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Megan. I sincerely appreciate all of you coming out tonight and presenting before council and the residents of Fairview Park. We do appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to open it up to council for questions. And for our guest, if there is a question specifically about your role in this presentation, if you could come up to the microphone to answer, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Council, Councilman Mann. Lang.
Other end of the table.
Other end of the table, yeah.
Kim, in reading the threatened and endangered species report, it did mention that there was the potential, based on the foliage and the landscaping that's currently there, that there's bat habitat. Do you know if any active bat habitat was observed?
They did not observe any active bat habitat.
Okay, so this is all theoretical. More study might need to be done, but generally speaking, as far as any endangered species activity or threatened habitat is concerned, there's actually no real threat because it's not present.
Correct.
Okay.
And as the process goes through for design of the site and construction of the site, there are different things that the city will have to do to confirm all of that
Right.
with the different agencies.
Okay, and this next one is for you as well, so
Okay.
I know. You did mention that there was some surface water. It's not a wetland per se, but there was the designation of this certain percentage of lots there. As far as surface preparation is concerned, though, when we're talking about removing top layers and bringing in a substrate and rock and whatnot, how far down would you be required to dig based on your estimation in order to make it a suitable building site?
You wouldn't have to go very far down, maybe 6 to 12 inches.
Okay.
And it won't necessarily be over the whole site. It would just be in spots where they would find material that was not suitable for the foundation.
Okay. I think those are the two that I had for you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Councilman Lang. Any other questions from council tonight?
If I may.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I have a list. Sorry, guys. So the first question that I have, I'm going to turn to the administration and the mayor, and I believe Steve was looking into this, and he's not here tonight. So if we don't have an answer, can we just take a note for Steve? The $1 million that we're receiving from the county is tied to the purchase of land for a service garage. And what I wanted to clarify is the timeline we have for building on that lot before we would potentially lose the money, if there is a timeline. Or is it simply, as long as we are saying we're buying it for that, then we're okay? And the reason I ask that is because we're talking about significant phasing. So I want to make sure that we're aware of what that timeline may be.
Oh, I'm sorry, Megan.
I will say, so the city already has the $1 million. It is in our bank account. It is basically just following through on that requirement of purchasing the property. It has been in our account since I think 23. So it's already in there. They've already allocated it. It's just kind of taking it to the finish line.
Okay. The next question I have, and this might be for you, Megan, it might be for you, Walt. Thank you for being here this evening. Relative to zoning, I think that there's a conversation we need to have regarding zoning. So we know that currently it is zoned for business A, which, if my understanding is correct, is typically doctor's offices or businesses, a funeral home, nothing super industrial. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if a private company were to come in and suggest that they want to build a service garage, would that have to be rezoned to B, or what would that be rezoned to? Outside of the city doing it, I'm trying to figure out if it was a private company trying to do the exact same thing we're doing, what would that need rezoned to?
Walt Maynard, building commissioner. There's a lot of other steps in there. Would it be an exterior use? Would it be storage of exterior vehicles? Is it a sales line? Is it, what is it for? It would probably have to be B.
Okay, yeah, and I guess what I'm talking is, let's, for sake, I'm making this up, this is not like me saying, but let's say First Energy decided to come put a service garage there and do the exact same thing we want to do. It would have to be rezoned to B?
That P, Civic and Rec, could go as different rules.
Okay, then Republic Services maybe wanted to store something
That
there.
would probably have to be B, or we have to conditional use, it's like an industrial use or something like that. Be conditional use there.
Okay. And so what other kinds of companies would typically be in B, or would we grant a conditional use to?
We have not granted any conditional uses in my 15 years here. But some opportunities for it would be a car wash, a drive-through restaurant, anything related to vehicles, to be drove to B or conditional use, depending on how our council would approve conditional use. We go to planning commission and the council.
Okay. But anything industrial could go in there under a
We don't
B?
have an industrial district.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. You guys are off the hot seat. I'm going to switch over to Kim. Kim, thank you, by the way. Thank you all, by the way, for bringing this information to us this evening. I know we've been asking a lot, but I do appreciate that you guys are providing us that and also standing there and letting us drill you a little bit. So looking at the geotechnical, that's what I want to start with. I know we've talked about surface preparation. I know that there was soil borings that showed that there's not really a groundwater concern. And we talked about like what we could do with a foundation, a slab, or a pavement design. What I didn't see in here was anything for like stormwater retention plans, because any new construction in the city does require stormwater retention. And so my concern would be, given that we have constraints of space, it would have to go underground. Is there a geotechnical reason we could or could not get that underground? Are we solid far enough down to allow for underwater stormwater?
Yes, there's no issues with putting in a stormwater management system underground. If you can build a building on it, you can put a stormwater management system.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and then looking at the noise study, did we do any sort of noise study on an operating service garage so that we could compare that to the highway?
All that we did is we took a summary of the ODOT study. We did not perform any of our own analyses of noise. So no, we did not, and there is not as Anthony and American Church Point was saying, related to a service garage when it comes to traffic, there's not a specific service garage function for noise either. So there's no standard for that.
Okay. And I guess the reason I'm asking is that you presented that it's like 60 to 70 decibels regularly over the course of an hour. Backup beepers on a truck or any sort of equipment, those are 70 to 110 decibels generally. And so I guess what I was trying to look for out of a noise study was, how does the current decibel level compare to noises we may hear with the new use?
It depends. Like these studies are based on the average over an hour. They're not like individual spot. Like you could go anywhere and take a reading and maybe get 100, but then in 15 minutes you're getting a 40. So they average them over an hour. And the service garage facilities, they don't usually run their equipment for hours.
Okay. So you might hear something on the highway that's 140, and then the next minute it's 30.
Correct.
And so that would be similar.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. No, I appreciate that further clarification. And then regarding the wetland mitigation, I promise this is your last one.
Okay.
From me anyway. Wetland mitigation, we're looking at 0.158 acres, which is less than 6% of the site, is what you had said. But anything over 0.1 acres needs permitting, mitigation, all the rest of it.
Well,
correct?
No matter what wetland, no matter how much wetlands you disturb, you have to get a permit. It's just there are different kinds of general permits and Ohio EPA permit. But if you disturb less than 0.1 acres, you don't have to pay for compensatory mitigation. So you don't have to buy credits at a mitigation bank. If you do disturb more than 1/10 of an acre, then you have to buy mitigation bank credits, which are like 1.5 to 1 or 2 to 1.
Okay.
And you have to buy them in your same watershed.
So we would most likely at 0.158 acres disturb more than 0.1, in which case we would have to buy credits for relocated wetlands.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of costs does that present?
The credits run now about $68,000 to $70,000 an acre. So if you're at a tenth of an acre, you're $7,000, somewhere between 7 and 15, probably.
Okay. And I don't know a whole lot about wetland mitigation, but I can maybe assume that we're buying it in the same watershed, and that means that the ecological impacts are reduced. That would be the reason for that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Rocky River, the Rocky River, the Rocky River watershed, and the the Black River. It's the Rocky Black. What do they call it? The HUC, the Hydrological Unit Code, or something like that. So
Okay.
it's the Rock Blackie watershed that you would have to buy it.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then my last question is for Roger, actually. Roger, thank you for being here. It's weird to talk to you about something that is not the Gemini Center. But I guess I had a couple questions about your cost. Obviously, you said it's in the next 6 to 12 months, so that cost could go up, could go down, could we wish would go down, right? But most likely would go up. Does that cost that you took a look at include anything with stormwater retention?
Yes.
Okay.
On the site plan,
This,
part of it would include that.
okay. Perfect. And then did we account for, and I don't know if this is for you or for the mayor, but in those costs, did we account for the work that we'll have to do to the salt dome, which to my understanding is staying here at City Hall, but we know we still have to do renovations to that.
No.
So those costs do not, that's just what's going at that site.
That's just at that site, correct? It does not include any equipment that would be needed or trucks or anything of that. It's strictly construction costs.
So bare buildings.
Well, with whatever heating and cooling equipment that you would need, but not like mechanics equipment or anything of that nature.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then thank you. I guess the next question would be, the last time we talked about costs publicly, we had estimated, and I'm going to emphasize estimated, 4 to 11 million. That's the last number that was, I'm going to say, dropped ballpark. This is obviously clearly beyond that. Did we have information that gave us the 4 to 11? Was that just a guess, and that's why we brought Roger in? I just want to jive previous information to current information.
No, the previous estimates were based upon square footage, what we anticipated to build, and obviously we contacted Roger because Roger's actively building things like this, so he has a better knowledge of how much things cost.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to connect those two dots. Roger, thank you. I appreciate it. Chair, that concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Rayleigh.
I'm sorry, I have many questions.
Oh, more than
More than you. So I'm going to fire them out, and whoever wants to answer, just go ahead and answer, I guess. There are 3 buckets of questions I got. I want to start with foundational questions about how this decision was made. I also want to talk about the source of the funds, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. And finally, I want to talk about these studies we got this weekend. I spent some time reviewing and talking with some other folks. So I want to start with, when did the administration start thinking about the service garage problem? This administration.
This administration,
Yes.
that's as soon as he walked in the door.
Yeah, my first day, even during my interview process, I toured the building, I toured the service garage, and what I found back there was undeplorable. It's not a healthy work environment for anybody. The restroom doesn't work. The panel was in disarray. They had a generator plugged into it without, a bypass breaker on it. I'm sorry. They had panels plugged in. They electrical violations. The roof still leaks to this present day. He doesn't have the proper equipment or the proper height to work on equipment in that building. He crawls on the ground daily. If you go down there and visit him around 8:30 in the morning, looks like he just got out of a coal mine. He's fed up. The union's fed up. The union has fed their their discomforts and their, I guess their disappointments in how we let people work like this. And I agree with them. So when I learned that there was a service garage already in the plans and we reviewed it and it was put aside, then we reviewed the plans and we figured, well, we got to make something doable. And that's how this started with me. But the last past administration did start this process, correct?
So I pretty much delved into it December of 2023. That was my first tour of the service garage about this project, and I believe it might have been the previous service director's first real communication with the service department as to what her designs were for the project. Um, it was my belief that grants were first and then need was second in this whole discussion.
Now, when did the attention of the administration turn to a location off of this campus?
Megan, do you have a time? Because we had talked with Ari Warner about the project because it was still an open invoice with the designer, the architect.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I was told to put my mic on. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
This was still an open invoice with Ari Warner. So we had approached them. I can't remember the time exactly, Megan. You can probably answer that.
Yes, it was about 2024 when Mayor Schneider came on board and we realized the plan that was in place wouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then Director Hitch came on board, and the City Hall building was developing its cracks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we switched it to a campus-wide project.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we looked at City Hall, police, fire, the whole City Hall building, not just the service garage. When we realized with our designing of the City Hall building that the police department might be a new addition, an expansion of their services, it came to our attention that the service garage, the footprint just didn't work. We did not go back to redesign for the service garage. We were just more focused on City Hall. And that's when we started looking at potentially going to other places. And the big thing was we had a building, we had a sketch, but then you had the fuel, and you had the trucks, and there was no turning radius, and it was almost the same problem that we were having wasn't being solved with the service garage. We had City Hall figured out, but not the service garage. And so that's when we approached the schools. We looked at other sites within the city.
When did you approach the schools?
I do not know exactly
Okay.
when, so I don't feel comfortable giving a
All right,
date.
that's fine.
You. And I think I have it on timeline somewhere.
Could I ask for an estimation? Was this 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 18 months ago?
Yeah, we had
It was in the winter. I know it was cold.
we had a meeting with the school administration and their lawyers, and we toured the old New Hope and the early education center lot. We had a discussion with them about, could we come up with a mutual agreement to come into a deal where, because we knew that they needed a new bus depot.
Mm-hmm.
The old New Hope Church has a failing boiler, and it's a very old building. So we approached the schools and said, hey, we have the same tax base. Why don't we go in on a mutual project so that you can get, a mechanic for and a garage for your buses. We could have shared employee areas, just so that we could sort of be efficient in combining costs. And we had a good meeting. We had discussed about having a second one. Unfortunately, after that, I learned that they did not want to proceed with the project. So,
How long were those discussions?
oh God, it was 2-3 hour meeting.
Well, I mean, in terms of when was the decision or communicated to you it wasn't going to go further?
It wasn't long.
Yeah, so we did get Ari Warner involved, and they did have a meeting with the schools, had a meeting with Ari Warner, and that's when kind of the buck stopped.
Okay. That happens. What do you do next to identify a potential site?
Then we honestly kind of focused back onto City Hall. It was trying to get that all wrapped, figure that out first, and try to go back to the service garage. Because at that time we were signed on an addition for the police department. Now that addition, we were kind of going back and forth. And then probably later, I think the mastic site became available October of 25, November-ish of 25.
It's about,
That was before
about
that.
first week in November.
Yeah. And we tore that, and that's when.
How did you find out that it was available? It wasn't public. Okay. Reading-
It was publicly
Yeah.
listed.
We
And
just kind of started.
so seeing the
Seeing the link.
seeing the public listing
Yeah.
piqued your interest.
We saw this.
Correct.
Seeing commercial property for sale in Fairview kind of sparked an interest.
Okay.
Especially when we found out how deep the land goes.
Mhm.
That's when it sparked our interest even more. And then when we took a tour and saw the building itself and how great of a condition it was.
Now, at this point, Ms. Otter, you're involved with the decision. Mr. Hitch, you're involved. Mr. Mayor, you're involved. Who else is involved in the administration?
I would say Director Peg. I mean, we were all kind of.
It's not a big administration.
Yeah.
Well, let me phrase it a little different. Who were you getting advice from anyone outside of your cabinet or your employees?
Advice as far as doing what?
Picking this site as a possibility for a service garage.
I will say we then approached Ari Warner.
Okay.
To
Well, were they involved in picking this site?
not the site, but they helped to see if the site would be feasible. Because that's obviously, if it wasn't feasible, then what would be the point?
And so my question was the selection of the site itself. Who's involved in that decision?
The entirety of the administration, really.
But no one outside of the administration.
No.
It became available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who in the administration has prior experience with industrial site selection?
Well, Director Dever. Director Dever had worked for Ganley Automotive, so he had done previous work with them as far as choosing sites for auto sales and retail and garages like that. I have prior experience in real estate.
Okay. Now, you did not have any retention or thought to retain some sort of an outside consultant to assist you in your decision?
No, not at that time, no.
Now, in my experience in public policy and my study of it as well, I find that most of the time bad government decisions occur when there's confirmation bias and groupthink. What did you take during this process to avoid those dynamics?
So we did do analysis to say, hey, where else in the city could we put this? And we looked at everything that was available. We did look at other sites. We looked at who would be, we had talked to other individuals about, hey, would the Ramada be for sale? And yes, it is, but for a very phenomenally large price. So we had gone through the process of identifying where else we could potentially put it. We really did spend a significant amount of time identifying, hey, can we come to some sort of solution with schools? Can we find somewhere else to put this? And honestly, once you find a lot that's 2.6 acres inside of the city that you are running, it just makes sense to go forward with it.
So your group came up with this idea that we need to have at least 2.5 acres to have an appropriate,
When you're saying your group, what are
the
you-
administration.
So this is after discussion with Ari Warner. So part of the process that we had when we went and revisited what the prior administration had done is we had approached our service department, the actual individuals who do work in the service department, the mechanics, the employees, the supervisors, and we said, hey, we want this done right. We don't want to just take a grant and pigeonhole some terrible building into our backyard and not actually satisfy anything that's wrong with our department. So we approached the mechanic, Dave, and we said, hey, what do you need to do your job properly? What do you need to do efficiently? I was approached after I had become elected. I became mayor. I was mayor-elect. I was approached by service employees saying, hey, no one asked us about showers. So we decided, hey, we're going to actually talk to the people that actually work in the service department and find out what they need. So really part of the process was just identifying how to efficiently run a department. And then we went to Ari Warner and we said, okay, well, this is what we need to, you know, we need to go and repair our vehicles. We need employee quarters. We need offices if we're going to put anything off site, if we're going to go and remodel City Hall. Should we move the directors and supervisors off site in the office? We had talked about vehicle cover, basically, because we knew that we had a number of pickup trucks and other vehicles that just sat out in the open the entire year. So we approached the employees and we approached RE Warner and said, these are our issues. These are what we need at a site. And they came back with a potential diagram and said, hey, just FYI, we can't fit everything that you need here at City Hall. So if you can find some place to build it, great. And we agreed because it was blatantly obvious that we couldn't have fit anything that we needed back there.
And they said somewhere else to buy it. Did they say what size the property should be?
No, we basically had approached them and said, hey, we have these many vehicles, we got to put them under cover. And when this piece of property came up for sale, we said, okay, RE Warner, can we fit everything that we need back there? And they went and did that preliminary sketch and identified, yes, it would fit.
Okay. The preliminary sketch doesn't have a salt dome, though.
No, salt domes are not hard buildings to construct. Nowadays, they're truly paddocks with concrete blocks forming the walls, and then you have a fabric building over the top. We hadn't put it into the original sketch. We had just sort of said, okay, we really need to have our vehicles under cover and proper facilities for our employees. So, can we have it at City Hall? Absolutely. It's not that big of a deal. Would we want to have everything together, obviously, in a perfect world? Yeah, we would.
Same thing goes for the fueling station.
We can just keep it here if it's that much of a concern.
So I think a helpful way it was described initially in the process was we need a 4-bedroom house, and the space here is for a 2-bedroom condo, right?
Megan, was that your question?
With a 2-bedroom house.
Okay, family of 5, 2-bedroom house. Sorry, I misunderstood that.
We're also just not to speak out of turn, I apologize, but we're missing the fact that we need a vehicle wash. These salt trucks are $360,000 a piece. We bought 3 of them since I've been here. We can't wash them properly outside with the hose during this type of weather. So we need some sort of a pass-through car wash, not an expensive automated one, something they drive through. There's jets that just blow off all the salt to maintain these vehicles for a longer life. We have a camera truck. We have a jet truck that's $680,000 now. We're going to need one of them in the next 3 years probably because we're using the heck out of the thing. That in a street sweeper, that's $290,000 for a bare bones one. Those need to be housed somewhere warm all the time. As you heard, Chief Raffin, he's upset that there's a jet truck parked in the fire station. That's how crowded we are. So yes, we do have to make wise decisions, not for today, but for the future, because we can build a service garage back there. But then we'll be back to this type of conversation again in 4 years.
Now, when we're talking about needs and moving this facility potentially, did you happen to reach out to any cities, Mr. Mayor?
Other cities directly? No, we have not.
But did you tour?
Yeah, we toured other facilities.
Yeah,
and there's not one city like
I'm sorry, that wasn't my question. You reached out to another city that had a service facility development project like this?
No, there's no other city in Cuyahoga County that is developing a service garage right now.
Okay. Did you reach out to the Ohio Municipal League for the entire state? We're a member of that organization, right?
We are, but no, we have not reached out to anywhere outside the county to share facilities.
No, not to share, to hear about what they did to fix their problems. We're not the first city with this problem, right?
Well, we have investigated what they've done over on the east side. You've got, I think Pepper Pike shares a facility. Is it Highland Heights, Megan? Shares a facility with their neighbor.
Did you see how big their sites were that they moved into or what they're using now?
No, but we have seen other service facilities near us, and Brian, it brings you to tears, honestly.
I will say, that's how we did RE Warner as well. We went on a tour with the prior administration. We went on tours of several other service garages that they built. Obviously, it might not have been similar, like for like, but we saw what was capable, what we could obtain, and what we were clearly lacking.
So,
and if to answer your question as well, when we were working with potentially with the schools, I did go through I don't know if it was the Ohio Municipal League, but it was definitely through, I believe it might have been the Ohio GFOA, to government finance officers. And were they aware of a school-city partnership for a shared garage? And I could not find one in the state of Ohio. So we did a lot of work. It wasn't just like, oh, we'll just do that. There's a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of research, a lot of expertise of everyone in all our combined years of doing public service and this type of work to arrive to where we're at today.
So I do want to bring to at least your attention, I've reached out to my contacts about similar projects, two of which are in Summit County. One is in Macedonia, which has a smaller population than Fairview Park. They moved it a mile down the road to another industrial site. Another is Reminderville, which is a much smaller city. They are expanding their service facility at their City Hall campus. So those would have been probably good places to have reached out to. Thankfully, I also have friends who answer my calls across the country, one of which is in St. Joseph County, Indiana. There, they tried to buy a property that was next to a bunch of residential areas. Neighbors came forward and said, absolutely not, and they bought an industrial site after that. There are other examples, Portland, which is much bigger, but they also went to a different industrial site. There's Illinois, we have Aurora and Yorkville. Both places went to other industrial sites. I cannot find a single precedent of moving a service garage facility from a legacy facility like we have to the middle of a residential area. Does that lack of precedent scare you at all?
No, it does not,
Why is that?
because we are a landlocked city. We have a service garage in a residential neighborhood currently.
And a creek.
It stays at, so in most places they stay at their legacy site because people knew about them. You are planning to put it somewhere that no one knew about, and that isn't concern to you. When they bought their property, there was not a service facility there.
Councilman, we are trying to make the most efficient use of what we have. And we can do what ifs till the cows come home. But what we have here is an opportunity to buy a piece of land inside of our city and satisfy the needs of our service department for the next 50 years.
Fair enough. All right, that's the first bucket of questions I have. The second one comes from ARPA. First of all, just for the record, what does ARPA stand for?
American Rescue Protection Act?
Rescue Plan Act. Can you tell me what the main purpose of that act was?
Funds can be used from the ARPA funds to be used to purchase a piece of property.
So this isn't a question of legality, Mr. Mayor. American Rescue Plan is something that is very important to me. I think that there was probably one of the top 5 most impactful legislations that has ever been passed in my life. The two main purposes were to get people employed and to get money into middle and working class families' pockets. And it did a great job of that. It created 4 million jobs. Middle and low income families had their after-tax income go up 10 to 35%. This purchase agreement today, how many jobs does it create?
I don't know if I can even give you a number, but I can tell you right now that we have 25 service personnel. We have a union that knows that we have facilities that are lacking, and we know that we need to make sure that we keep jobs and our city intact. So the question is, do we want to build it here in Fairview Park, or do we want to build it someplace else, not get the tax revenue, potentially have issues with our union?
If I may also, we have one bathroom for 25 employees. Now, they do come into City Hall, but some days they're dirty, they're filthy, and we just have to share facilities somewhere. It's not a very comfortable position when you're outside working. We work in the offices, you have a restroom close. They don't. They can't just run into a McDonald's and expect it to be clean and sanitized. They can't. Secondly, we do not have one female facility in our garage area. Nothing. We cannot hire females right now. Why? Because we don't have a place for them to wash up, change, or use the restroom. Lastly, they are deplorable conditions that we're on borrowed time with the union. So will we be creating other headaches if this fails? Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to talk about people that are going to be demanding stuff in their jobs, demanding what's right for them.
So
what we owe our employees.
I appreciate those points, but it sounds like it's not going to create any jobs. The next question is this?
We will be able to create more jobs if we're able to hire more people with adequate facilities.
Now, does this also get, are you breaking in?
May I real
Go
fast?
ahead.
Director Hitch, I want to give you an opportunity here because I think I know your intent, but being that it's on the record, you just mentioned that we cannot hire females. I think what you wanted to say, I hope, is not that we cannot hire them, but rather we don't have facilities that would attract females and be able to provide facilities for them. And I want to give you an opportunity on the record to clarify your statement.
On the record, if there was an emergency and that female employee had to shower immediately to get out of clothes because she was doused with fecal matter, which we do work in sewers, she got a cut, she had to wash off. We are at a big liability. So that's what could go on record. We are at a liability if we don't have the proper facilities for every employee.
I mean, we're in a situation right now where we have a fire department that they have to share, and we're basically parsing out the space so that our single female firefighter can have the proper facilities. We're actively trying to rebuild and redesign that space so that she has permanent, correct employee facilities. So, yes, we could hire females right now, but they would not have the adequate facilities. We would be in a liability situation.
And I'm sure people are familiar with the law that you have to provide adequate facilities for every employee, regardless.
Now, what can you tell me about JL Capital One, the company that currently owns this property?
As far as the company itself, I can't tell you too much. I do know that they own a building in Fairview Park. They've owned it for quite some time. I believe they operate out of Texas. That's the headquarters, I guess you could call it, of the individual who owns it. And that's about it.
So you don't know the managing members, Paul Kozel?
No.
He's associated with 20 other businesses. Let's see, he also currently is the namesake for the Football Stadium Communication Center at Ball State University. He's associated with nearly 20 other businesses, so he's quite the out-of-state business investor. So our money is going to be going straight to his pocket?
With all due respect, sir, the county's money are.
The county's money?
It is ARPA money granted to us from the county.
Bank account.
Yes, sir, and we need to go and get permission from the county to use it for a specific cost.
How does the federal government get money? Does it magically appear?
Yeah, prosecutor, with all due respect here, we're trying to inform the public and council.
But Caitlin and I have worked so hard on this presentation and gathering all of these studies. And I appreciate your comments, I appreciate everyone's comments, but we have experts here on the studies that were asked from you to do. And that's why we are here.
Well, we can talk about the ESA one then. So let's see. The ESA, I just want to make clear, is not a study that explains the environmental impact of having a service garage on the property. Is that right?
The phase one ESA defines the environmental, as what the environmental conditions are now
Of the property itself.
of the property.
So it doesn't say anything about the public health impact of its proposed use.
It does not.
Now, I noticed in the ESA 1 that it describes the property as consisting of 0.65 acres. The agreement is for over 2.5 acres. Why is there a disparity?
I don't know. I will have to look at the report and double check that.
It also, on page 1 to 2, outlines that the report writers did not independently verify the information they received. Is that correct?
They did not independently verify the information that they received from outside sources, such as the ownership list and things like that, that they got from a firm that we paid to give them that information.
So we have here that it says in there that the property has been vacant since 2023. However, I've heard multiple times from the administration that's been vacant since 2016. Can you say which one is true?
That 2023 information, what was provided from the realtor who was at the site with our person who did the ESA, and that's what they told us.
There also on page 13, it indicates there are potentially water supply and sewer mains going through the property. Does that possibility limit the development of the property?
It does not. The sewers are at the back along 480. It's a city-owned sewer.
So there are not potentially any mains going through the property? That's what the report says.
There's a sewer main on the property. It's
Okay.
along the 480. It's along the back along 480. It's a city-owned sewer.
Let's see, I also want to go over the geotech and soil assessment. So this is essentially, the purpose is to show that we could build on the property.
Is that a question?
Yes, is that what it does?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that determination is made by doing 2 soil bearings were drilled down. Sorry, borings.
Yes.
Why was 2 the number chosen?
2 was the number chosen because it provides a general idea of what is on the site. If as you move further and you're building in a specific location, then you may need to come back and do more in that specific location. But in general, you're not gonna go do 50 of them on a 2-acre site. How do you decide? You just base it on your general experience on how many they can be.
Did the very preliminary drawing of the rough sketch of what wanted to be built on this property, do you use that to determine the boring placement?
No.
There also has here that there are about half of the proposed pavement area has soils that require remediation, and that there has to be excavation up to 18 inches. How much does that cost?
I don't know off the top of my head, and it wasn't my job to put pricing on it.
Okay, I was just wondering. It also says the report recommends limiting construction traffic. Will we be able to accomplish that?
Limiting construction traffic.
Yes, during the project, it recommends that the city do that during construction. Are we going to be able to do that? Yes.
We always limit it as best we can and put up,
It's going to be a phased
Yeah.
project, so.
Yeah, I mean,
traffic patterns are changed, so on and so forth. Best practice are made. You could bring your truck on the empty on this road. When you're loaded, you got to go out that load. We go through all that during pre-cons, for sure. How the rough is going to be picked up during construction. Yeah, we're well tuned on that.
Page 11 says, we strongly recommend the final project plans and specifications be reviewed to confirm the geotechnical aspects are generally consistent with the recommendations of this report. When do we think we could probably do that?
you do that when you have your preliminary site plan.
Okay, so after the $1.5 million or whatever it is, phase 2?
Yeah, I mean, we could
Yeah.
have a site plan sooner.
No,
But I mean,
you would have to do it during your, you would do it before you built your site plan.
yeah.
It looks like maybe between phase 1 and 2, there are existing building improvements. But by phase 2, doing site preparation, I would assume that's where we would come in and do that. You'd have a much larger architectural plan. That's my guess, would be between
right
phase
now-
1 and 2.
Yeah, so with the city hall, like for example, for the city hall renovation, we have site plans that we have at 30%, and we have drawings for the whole building. But that does not mean that it's going to happen, correct? It's going to be in phases, but we have it all together now. We paid for the design of that. So that means we could have it before then, but then we would phase it out.
Now the 2 borings were placed kind of in the bare area in the back of the property, not behind the current existing building, correct?
Correct.
Does the lack of borings behind the building affect the thoroughness of this report at all?
No.
Okay, could we put borings back there if we needed to, or is it because there's pavement, there's a problem?
No, you could go through the pavement if you want to. We didn't want to go through the pavement in case the city doesn't buy the property.
And that was asked by the realtor to maintain the property.
That's understandable. Moving on to the wetland study here. I just want to be clear. So currently there are 3 wetlands on the site. Is that what the report indicates?
Yes.
So we need a jurisdictional determination from the Corps engineers.
Yes.
Can you just tell us what is that?
A jurisdictional determination is when a wetlands consultant and the owner of a property submit an application, a preliminary application to the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Army Corps comes out, visits the site, agrees with the assessment, and agrees with the location of the wetland locations and the types. That's your jurisdictional determination. That's also when Army Corps decides if they're isolated or not isolated, and whether the Army Corps has any jurisdiction over those wetlands.
Does that cost the city anything to get that determination?
Yes, it would cost the developer, whoever develops it, the city or a private developer, the cost to get that.
How much does it usually cost?
I don't know.
Is it?
I'm not sure.
Do you think it's nominal, or is it like $100,000 or something?
Oh no, it's not $100,000.
Do you know the timeline of that? How long it usually takes?
It can take up to 18 months if you're getting an actual Army Corps permit.
Okay. Now, even if it's an isolated wetland, state regulations are going to apply to it, right?
Correct.
So, either way, we're probably going to have to do mitigation to this.
It depends. If you can design the site where you only disturb less than a tenth of an acre, then you don't have to pay for mitigation and you don't have to mitigate.
Okay.
You just get a permit to fill.
But if we were to use the whole property, we'd have to disturb all of it, right?
I mean, if you disturb all of it, you would have to have you'd have to pay for mitigation.
Okay. Do you just know generally whether there are credits available for us to purchase for the mitigation?
I don't know what the status of the Grafton Swamp Mitigation Bank is, but I know that the city of Middleburg Heights purchased credits there about a year ago.
Okay. While we're waiting for federal or state EPA approval, are we allowed to construct, or do we have to wait?
You have to wait for the approvals before you can construct. But I believe that fits in the timeline because there's, it's a long timeline to design and actually build.
Have we determined whether Chapter 1339 of our ordinances apply to this property?
What is Chapter 1339?
It's regarding wetland and setbacks and the prohibited uses of wetlands.
It would apply, but if you're mitigating or if you're disturbing the wetlands, then there's no wetlands on the site, so there's no wetland setbacks required.
If you're disturbing the wetlands, sorry, can you say it again?
If you disturb the wetlands and you're getting rid of the wetlands, then there's no requirements for setbacks.
Okay, so we should get rid of all of them? Because the reason I ask is 1339.13 outlines 7 different prohibited uses of properties where there are wetlands and wetland setbacks. Those include a parking lot, the disturbance of vegetation, use of vehicles, roads and driveways, dumping, and also construction. So 6 of those 7 seem to apply to this property. There is an option to get variances. However, that is not allowed for certain uses, including,
That's that you can't use the property for that, or you just can't use the wetland setback for that. I'm not that familiar with the ordinance.
Yeah, it's for the wetland setback area.
So in the area that's the wetland setback, 50 feet around the wetland, or whatever it is, 25.
So where exactly are those setbacks located? Do we have a map of that?
I think there was. Not yet, but it would be easy to make one. Okay. But you have to decide whether you're saving the wetlands or not, disturbing them, before you decide on that. That's all part of the design process.
Okay. And we think we can account for all of that and still get everything we need to have our family of 5?
Yes.
That's all the questions I have this evening.
Thank you, Kim.
And if I may, with ARPA funds, I do want to make a point with ARPA funds. ARPA funds, there's many categories of how ARPA funds could be spent. Some of it was for job creation and to replace lost wages. But a lot of ARPA funds went to governments for infrastructure improvement, for continuation of services. So what this is Cuyahoga County's large bucket of monies that they wanted to use and then distributed. And so we got that part of their ARPA funds for a service center or service department facility on our property or within the city of Fairview Park. So it is a proper use of ARPA funds.
Thank you, Director Pay. Whew,
If I may ask
it's
one
been
more
a lot.
question.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Madam Chair?
So in the interest of time, and we do have guests, I want to align with what Megan Otter did bring forth. If you do have questions regarding the presentation, please put those at the forefront of the discussion right now, and then we can move into those other conversational points following the discussion of the PowerPoint presentation that was presented tonight. Yes, Councilwoman Mann.
Just a couple questions. So I just want to be clear that the grant money was for the purchase of this property to build our service garage, our service yard. If we approve this legislation, there is no way that we will not be building a service yard on this property then, because that is those are the terms of the grant. Is that correct?
The terms of the grant are to purchase the property with the intent to build the service garage, which will be a phased project. The first step of the service garage is to do locker rooms and interior remodel. That is bringing the service department into that particular building, doing site work as following the phases. So we are following the terms of the grant. It's just going to be in a phased approach.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Okay. I recall seeing and hearing from some of the residents in the area that there was a sewer easement on this property that prevented the previous owner from developing further into this parcel. Does that easement still exist, and why are we able to develop it when the previous owner could not?
The easement that I'm aware of is the sanitary sewer easement along the back of the parcel. And yes, the sewer still exists there. And I don't know where that is versus where any of the development is going to go, but it's the city's sewer and the city's easement. Another developer wouldn't be allowed to do something over it because then the city couldn't maintain it. But if it's the city's property and the city's going to maintain it and they have to cut through their own parking lot to get to it.
Okay. So along the back of the property, the preliminary drawing, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that where the garage was going to be?
Again, preliminary.
Okay. So you would not put the garage over the sewer, right?
No, but you could potentially reroute the sewer if you had to on the property.
Okay.
If you needed to, there's always options.
Okay. All right. That was all the questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mann. Councilwoman Waring?
Yeah, I just had one more. Councilman Rayleigh did a great job of establishing the timeline of this project. But I think there's one thing that we didn't discuss. And I just wanted to ask from the administration standpoint, when did you officially bring council into the discussion?
I cannot recall. There has been other PowerPoints that we have done that have laid out the timeline. I can look that up tomorrow. I cannot recall, and I don't feel comfortable enough because timelines are everywhere. But it was early in 2026. Yeah, the budget hearings in December, we talked about the campus project and looking at the campus, the whole site. So the whole site includes City Hall, Senior Center, and Service Garage. Obviously, it wasn't specific to this site, but it was discussed looking at the campus as a whole.
And I guess the reason I bring that up is specifically I just wanted to bring it out there that I believe council was officially notified that we were looking to purchase this property in 2026. So despite these discussions that were happening with the school board, despite looking at things starting in 2024, to clarify why we're asking so many questions is because we were brought in at the very tail end once a property had already been identified to understand that we were even looking at property. So to just clarify that point, I wanted to bring that forth on the timeline.
Councilwoman, we had to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row before we brought forward any sort of plan.
I understand that.
So that was approaching the county, making sure that we could use the funds, and then having an idea if we could actually build it at that property. I mean, there were multiple things that had to be done. Otherwise, we'd just be wasting your time. I mean, do you want us to tell you about every single decision about, oh, we looked at this property today? I mean, we want to bring you a package that you can look at and chew on.
I understand that, but I do think that it's very important that we put the understanding as to why we're asking so many questions this far into the process. And it's because the process went this far and then we were brought in.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
So,
Thank you so much. Council President?
We have known though that the service garage has been in disrepair and needing service for years. Our past administration has brought this up, it started it, so this is not of all of a sudden our workers are under these bad conditions and we're suddenly knowing about it. We've known about it and we were working towards a solution and now we finally found this solution.
Absolutely.
So it's not a brand new
purchase of the property,
Yes.
not the state of the service garage. The purchase of the property is the timeline that I was trying to set forth.
Okay.
We have known about the service garage for a significant portion of time, up to and having approved as a council the development of a service garage in the back that did not move forward. So I just wanted to say regarding the purchase of the property, this is why we have so many questions. Thank you.
Any other discussion points? Councilman Long?
I did have a question because I think I know, or I kind of have a similar question as Councilwoman Waring, but what I don't know is when did this parcel officially hit the open market for us to even be able to consider purchasing it?
I'm pretty sure we already did a timeline that was very similar to kind of laying everything out. I can't recall when we gave that to you guys, but it's something that I can reshare because it did give very specific dates of when it hit the market, when we went to tour it, when we went to county council, that we can pull back up and share with you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I don't remember. I want to say, I want to say it was sometime in December, ish.
Yeah.
Because in order for me to even be involved, I have only been on council since November, so and sworn in January.
Yeah.
So we toured it after I took office. So
Correct.
we have not been able to discuss this as a potential viable option until I came on council, which was
Correct.
January 1. So it's a very compressed timeline. And I think it bears noting that this parcel as an option didn't become available, a year and a half ago when these discussions started. This is all a development that was very recent.
Correct.
And recent because this parcel previously wasn't available as an option.
Correct.
And I do think that that is an important distinction to make because it's not like this was, sprung on everybody at the 9th or at the 11th hour. This was an opportunity that presented itself, that became a possibility, and we've been working very, very, very rapidly to be at the point that we're at right now with these site assessments, with these studies that have been completed for a parcel that, one, we don't currently own, so we're expending taxpayer dollars for these studies just to see if this is even a viable option. So I do think that does bear noting, because it's not like, contrary to some of the things that I've been reading, it's not something that was just sprung on everybody to say, hey, we're going to do this, we need your approval, let's go ahead and do it. This was something that did require expedience, and I want to specifically commend you and the others involved in gathering these surveys, because what we asked of you was a very, very quick turnaround in the grand scheme of what these types of land purchase deals typically involve and require. And I get Councilman Rayleigh's perspective on this. I have a lot of those same kind of reservations and concerns, but I do think that for me personally, I am very appreciative of the effort that you took when we brought this to you, requesting all of this information in a very, very short amount of time. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I think that's where I don't want to speak off turn with timelines.
Nope.
There's been a lot of moving parts, but I will say, I've been from the 2022 to now. It is nice to see progress. We have made movement, whether it might be good or bad. This is an actual solution for the city to do something that is positive for the residents. And we did the best we could. And so I appreciate everyone behind me that helped. And we're always here for any questions you may have. But I will say I appreciate you saying that, Councilman Lane, because it did require a lot of effort.
Thank you, Megan. We all appreciate all the effort and work that you've put in and for everybody coming out tonight. I just want to bring up a point as well. We are and have, and Mayor, if you could speak to this, received funding to do our campus project, which will require the expansion of the police department as well as the fire department, which will impede upon any space that we have here at our City Hall campus as well. So there's a lot of moving parts here to help provide better services and better buildings and accommodations for our job growth in our city. We've grown exponentially in terms of our staff. And as a result of that, we are providing better service for our residents of Fairview Park. So keep in mind, too, that there's another project that's going on with our campus project. And Mayor, if you could just kind of touch on where we're at with that.
Sure. So we're at about 90% with those design drawings. It's sort of been parsed out in a couple different sections. We do have the fire department, which needs locker rooms for our female firefighters. But we are intending to build an expansion of the police department because they are truly bursting at the seams. And we have issues where our facilities just aren't adequate. They were built in 1967 and didn't really plan for the future too well. Yeah, we're at about 90%. We are still talking with Ari Warner about select portions of the project. Obviously, we're probably going to have some small changes with what our final discussions are about. But yeah, we're at a point where we're pretty close to having a design. It's almost there.
And Mayor, who's funding that campus project for us?
May I interrupt for just
Yeah.
a second? Prosecutor Castell, is this germane to the legislation that we're supposed to be discussing? I'm concerned we're veering off the agenda.
Well, it was brought up in previous conversation, so I just wanted to bring some clarity to it, to just give perspective around there is a lot of projects happening in Fairview Park as a result of this administration and the work it's done in terms of raising money through grants and the Megan Otter's work as well.
Okay.
We had already discussed this earlier during Rayleigh's conversation.
I'd say that the question was brought up as, this, as it relates to this particular parcel and whether something in the alternative could be done or whether something in the alternative was looked at, including City Hall. So I think that the comments regarding what else is going on up here is germane as to whether or not expansion of the service garage, replacement of the service garage could take place on the campus here. So I think it's germane to that.
Okay.
So I think it would be proper.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we are crossing our T's
Yeah,
and dotting our
I
I's.
think okay.
My apologies for the interruption
No.
then. Thank you for your opinion.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. Any other questions from council regarding the presentation tonight? Any other discussion around ordinance 2816 for this evening? 18, sorry. 2618, ordinance 2618. Okay. All right. At this time, I'd like to move to amend ordinance 2618 to add addendum B dated March 20th to Exhibit A. Can I get a motion? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you for that second. Is there any additional discussion on the addendum?
Just to clarify, that's to extend the contingency date, correct?
Yes, that was to extend the contingency date to May 18th to make a decision about purchasing the property on Mastic Road.
And just for the record, the vote's for the amendment, not for final approval.
Right.
Thank
The
you.
vote is for the amendment, not for final approval. That is correct. All right. Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Minnick?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfields, yes. Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring?
Yes.
Mr. Rayleigh?
Yes.
Mrs. Mann?
Yes.
Okay. I move that, I'd like to move on to have ordinance 2618 remain in committee.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion about the ordinance remaining in committee? Okay, I'd like to take a vote on that motion. Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Minnick?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield is yes. Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring?
Yes.
Mr. Rayleigh?
Yes.
Mrs. Mann?
Yes.
All right. The Finance Committee ends at 7:56 p.m.
Great. Thank you very much, Troy. Megan, thank you very much, Megan and Caitlin, for all of your work on this presentation, and everyone who was here tonight to support her. We really appreciate it. It's really given us some clarity on this whole process. So thank you for your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, boards and commission reports. Pat, do you have anything?
Nothing this evening.
Bill?
Thank you, Council President. The Board of Control met this morning, May 4th, 2026, at 10 a.m. in the Fairview Park Community Room, second floor of City Hall. This was a rescheduled date to discuss 7 items pertaining to the Board of Control meeting of April 15th, 2026. I submitted my report on April 15th, 2026. Law Director Dever was not present. Items 1 through 7 were voted on, 4-0, and approved. This completes my report.
Excellent, thank you. Troy, anything for boards and commissions?
Nothing tonight. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out tonight. Appreciate being here.
Sarah?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Nothing this evening.
Rick?
Nothing for me.
Kim?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Okay, round table. Anything, Pat?
Nothing tonight.
Bill?
Nothing, thank you.
Troy?
Yes, I would like to remind everyone that tomorrow is the primary, so please go out and vote. If you have an absentee ballot, you have to take it down to the County Board of Elections. You can no longer put it in the mail and have it postmarked by the election day, which is May 5th. It has to be at the post office. It has to be at the election Board of Elections tomorrow. So if you do have that absentee ballot, please drive it downtown to the Board of Elections. But voting starts at 6:30 a.m. tomorrow and ends at 7:30 p.m. Go out and vote.
Thank you. Anything for round table, Sarah?
Nothing, thank you.
Rick?
Nope.
Kim?
Nothing, thank you.
All right. So that will conclude our special committee meeting for tonight. We will now move on to our council meeting. Do you have to stop the recording in the minutes? No, we're just going to go through. Okay. Okay, I would like to now call the meeting to order. Now we will have a moment of silent reflection. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call roll?
Mr. Lang.
Present.
Mr. Minnick.
Present.
Ms. Greenfield. Here. Mrs. King.
Here.
Mrs. Waring.
Here.
Mr. Rayleigh.
Here.
Mrs. Mann.
Here.
Okay. We will now move on to the approval of minutes. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of regular council meetings of February 2nd and 17, March 2nd, March 16th, 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move to amend the minutes of February 17th, line 331, to change flex targeting to collective bargaining, and on the March 16th minutes, to change line 72 to correct Arnie Warner to R.E. Warner, and line 292 to correct it to say West 214th Street.
Good catches. So moved.
Second?
Will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend the minutes and approve? And to amend and approve the minutes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Miss Greenfield,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Rayleigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Mann.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the special council meeting on March 23rd, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Miss Greenfield,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Rayleigh,
Yes.
Mrs. Mann.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Are there any written communications, petitions, or claims for this evening?
No.
Okay. We'll now move on to our committee reports. Local Government and Community Services, Councilwoman Waring.
Thank you, Council President. Local Government and Community Services Committee met on Monday, April 18th, beginning at 7:01 p.m. The committee discussed the issue Gemini Center. As part of this discussion, Mr. Ed Bettendorf presented to Council the idea of naming the new natatorium after a former Fairview Park teacher and swim coach, Richard L. Segrist. Mr. Bettendorf outlined the achievements of Mr. Segrist, including leading the 1964 Fairview Park swim team to the Ohio State Swimming Championship, building the community swim program, and contributing to the development of young individuals in the community. Mr. Bettendorf presented Council his efforts, along with others in the community, to identify alumni willing to contribute to the naming costs. He has a goal of raising $15,000 alongside the Fairview Park Athletic Club to provide for the naming costs and upkeep. He stated at this time he has commitments for nearly 2/3 of those funds. The chair made a motion to draft an ordinance naming the natatorium after Richard L. Segrist. The motion passed 7-0. Local Government and Community Services concluded at 7:24 p.m. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Next up is our Finance Committee report, Councilwoman Greenfield.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee meeting met, and all members of council were present, along with the mayor and his staff. We discussed Ordinance 2623, authorizing the contract with Pavement, Tech and Seal, Coating and Services. There were some questions from council that were answered by Director Kerber, and it was passed 7-0 to be moved from second read to third reading. And Finance Committee reports ends. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for legislation up for second reading. Councilwoman Greenfield.
All right. I'd like to place Ordinance 2623 up for second reading.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2623, originated by Brian Hitch, Service Director, requested by Mayor Bill Schneider, sponsored by Council Members Greenfield, Mann, and Rayleigh. An ordinance authorizing the administration to contract with Pavement Technology Incorporated for seal coating services and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Before Ordinance 2623 is now placed on second reading and subsequent third reading. It is now time for audience input on legislation that is up for passage this evening. Up for passage this evening is Ordinance 2622, and that will be all. Please make sure that you've signed in at the table to speak so that the clerk can call you to the microphone. No one? Okay.
Not for this.
All right. So now we will go up legislation up for third read and final passage. Councilwoman Greenfield.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to place ordinance 2622 up for third reading and final passage.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2622, originated by Megan Otter, Assistant Development Director, requested by Mayor Bill Schneider, sponsored by Councilwoman Greenfield, co-sponsored by Council Members Lang, Minnick, Raley, and Mann. An ordinance supporting a request for grant funding to the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency for the state fiscal year 2027, Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities Section 5310 grant program, and authorizing the mayor to accept any awarded grant funds and file all documents and execute all agreements necessary to receive any awarded grant funds, and declaring an emergency.
All right. Is there any discussion prior to passage of ordinance 2622? All right. Seeing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2622?
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mr. Raley,
Yes.
Mrs. Mayor.
Yes.
Ordinance 2622 passes. It's now time to have reports from the mayor, directors, and other city officials. Mayor Schneider, when you're ready.
Thank you, Council President. Mrs. Volpe, why don't you come up? You don't want to? All right, Mrs. Volpe probably doesn't remember, but she did teach music to me when I was a student at St. Angela. She used to drive a pink Corvette. Right? Oh. Same engine. All right.
It was still a fast car.
All right. Mrs. Volpe is here because she wanted me to proclaim that May is ALS Awareness Month. And the reason that we're doing so is to help educate the public about the realities of this devastating disease, honor individuals and families living with ALS, recognize caregivers and healthcare providers, and demonstrate our state's commitment to supporting those impacted. So thank you very much. Would you like?
I lost my husband to ALS in 2020 after a year and a half. It was the longest year and a half of my life. And somehow we made it through, but it's something you never forget. Thanks so much.
It's nice seeing you again. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Volpe, for reaching out. All right. Some updates. We have water in the competition pool. All right. Final construction is occurring this week, this month. We have a punch list, a number of punch list items that are going to be worked on, hopefully before we officially open. And things are proceeding as, well, they're a little bit late, but they're proceeding as intended at the Gemini. We have our Citizen of the Year dinner on Wednesday at 6:30 at the Senior Center. Don Catalano is our recognized individual this year. Don is a super guy. Mother's Day is May 10th. Make sure, husbands, that you go out and get a card for your wife. Do not tell her that, hey, I'm not going to get you a card because you're not my mom. That doesn't go over well. So, it's also my anniversary of 19 years on the 12th. So, thank you. Hallmark has received a good amount of money from me this month. We're going to be hosting some grade schoolers from Messiah Lutheran on the 14th. We have a couple grade schools usually come out every single year, and we show the kids around City Hall, as well as we go through a mock City Council meeting with them where they learn about government and learn what certain positions do, and maybe learn a little bit about their city at the same time. On the 16th, which is coming up, we have our shredding and household hazardous waste drop-off. Please, no tires, no batteries. We will have individuals out and back of City Hall directing traffic as well as telling people what is possible to be dropped off. As Troy had said, please vote tomorrow. The voting locations in the city have not changed since last election. We will have voting at City Hall as well as elsewhere in the city. And that is it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Public Service and Development Director Hitch?
Good evening. Quick cabin update. The roof is still a work in progress. It's starting to look really good over there. We started working on the plumbing inside the building. There's been a septic tank back there that was never abandoned properly, and that's leading to some of the plumbing issues that we're having. We're working with the EPA with that to make sure the guidelines are followed for properly abandoning it and removing it. We're still filling potholes. It seems like it's ongoing this year. Been a rough winter. We're doing tree lawn repairs when weather's permitting from the plowing and from all the extra snow that was pushed on the tree lawns this year. We've already repaired about 7 of the Cleveland water repairs from this winter. We're cutting grass in between rainstorms, and we're working on the hazardous trash day program to make it successful.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Finance Director Pay? My apologies, but there will not be a March financial report from me this month because of the Finance Department flood. I will have and for those of you who don't know, we had a major water leak and the city finance department was completely destroyed, and we are relocated to the senior center with our wonderful hosts. They've been wonderful to take us in, but that is been a adventure. So we appreciate everyone's assistance with that. But I typically do a summary finance report, and that's on the website. I was not able to do that for the month of March. There will be an April one, but council did receive the expenditure and revenue report from the assistant finance director for the month of March. If you haven't seen, the city is looking for laborers. We're looking for about 9 new positions between the recreation department and the service department. It went up, the posting middle of last week, and to date we've had 110 applicants. And we will begin interviews the week of May 18th and get some individuals on board. Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
Job creation, how about that?
Assistant Law Director Castell?
Thank you for, Law Director Dever is out of the country. He will be returning next Monday, so I have made notes and I will be getting back to him when he gets back, but other than that, no other report.
Excellent, thank you. Engineer Kerber?
Thank you, Council President. I have done a lot of speaking tonight, so I'll keep this report short. 223rd water lines under construction, so is West Woodstock, Stanford, and West 210 should start by the end of May. And I have the mayor beat because today is my 30-year anniversary, and my husband gave me roses, so that's amazing.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
I wish we hadn't made you spend your anniversary with us, though. I mean, sorry about that.
All right, public session. It is now time for our public session. Please make sure that you've signed at the table to speak. There is a 5-minute limit, and we do ask that you are courteous in your comments. Ms. Westbrook, who's up first?
Mike Conway.
Good evening.
No.
Hello, thanks. Megan, thanks very much for the slide presentation tonight. One question to you or folks here. When you did your alternate sites, did you look at bifurcation, the car wash next to Gemini, and the existing service garage, add up the acreage, and look at a plan along those lines, and run due diligence on that bifurcated combo package? Car wash next to Gemini plus service garage, add up the acreage, and run a due diligence on that to meet all the needs. We have not. Okay, all right. Kim, appreciate your stuff, but when we're looking at transparency and independence, you're wearing two hats. And it kind of doesn't look good in terms of a possible conflict of interest. You're sitting over there and being paid money by the city, and then you're over here as the engineer. Could we not have found another firm across our landscape that has no connections to Fairview Park?
Well, it's kind of unfair for you to say that, to say that I'm
It's
not,
a yes or no, that's all.
that I am not being objective
I
to
didn't
this.
say that, I just,
I mean, that's what you're alluding to.
well, of course, a person
But
that's wearing two hats.
I have no vested interest in whether the city builds the garage there or not. They have asked me for my opinion.
Okay.
The other folks at MSG that provided it have never worked for the city before.
Okay.
So they have provided the information. And I don't think that there's any conflict of interest related to this. And as I spoke at the counter, we have a standard of ethics.
I heard that.
We have to follow. And I could lose my license if I wasn't ethical or truthful.
But there is a yes or no question. You could have found another firm that didn't have any connections whatsoever to Fairview Park, yes?
Probably not somebody that could have done it as quickly as we turned it around for the city.
Okay. Same thing having Roger stand up and offer numbers. He also is wearing two hats as our owner's rep with Gemini. Could we have found somebody else to look at numbers? That's all. We've read, we've listened, we've reflected lots of information, questions. So if we were voting tonight, Pat, yes or no on mastic?
Pat, you do not have
Point of order.
Wait a minute, you can say yes or no.
No.
Point of order.
No.
We
No.
can't.
No, they're on poll.
No. Please continue.
Okay. So the question is raised with Bill, now that the senior center is safe, not going to be moved, not going to be touched, even though some folks have talked about different options and opportunities. Will you recuse yourself from further votes because of the appearance of a conflict?
Bill, you do not have to answer that.
Okay.
This is public comment, not public questioning here.
We can't raise questions?
You're raising questions about issues that weren't even brought up here tonight. And
But it deals with the
time-
legislation.
and the time for discussion of
All right.
legislation will be at the third read.
Okay. Dealing with the whole mastic issue then, Bridget, maybe I've missed it. Have you apologized for the Bitch Fest memo?
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Okay. So I guess that's a no. And the next question is, will you apologize?
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Okay. So I found it interesting that Bill and Brian and Jen seemed to get bent out of shape when Rick was asking detailed questions, doing deep dives, as Sarah, Kim, and other members have asked, and wondered, why are you guys getting bent out of shape? They're doing their job. And Jen, your kind of turnaround comment, not a good look from the audience. To use the analogy, you let the mayor go out and buy a house with no inspection, no due diligence. And 6 months in, you're still doing studies. Cart before the horse. And there's still lots of holes, like a big piece of Swiss cheese. So I would urge council to offer a motion and direct the mayor and staff, as you look at alternative sites, do it concurrently, and find out if the bifurcated site, car wash and the existing service garage, can meet all the needs. More than enough acreage. You got the new building with the lifts on Gemini. You level the service garage. You put in your cold storage, your salt dome, and your fuel island.
All right. Who's next?
Karen Gallagher.
My name is Karen Gallagher. I live on 224. Kim, I have a question. You said there was 2 soil samples taken for that whole lot? That's correct. Okay, because more towards the back, I watched them do it. They didn't do like survey a whole thing, but I have pictures of like oil that is like this deep of 3 different areas back there. So would that matter? Like, would that be any kind of concern?
I can't answer that question at the moment. I'm not sure.
Okay. Because I know, I watched the areas they went up to, because I was home that day, and they did not come way back. So I was just wondering why it was only 2 samples for 2,000 square feet.
I think you're confusing the type of different surveys. The survey, the geotech does not look at oil on the surface or that kind of water.
Okay,
That's not what the geotech is for.
all right. I thought it was because of the samples when you have to go down like 18 feet. So I was just wondering, oh,
They don't
like
look at
why
that.
they didn't walk the whole field.
They were just assigned to do the 2 samples.
Oh,
They went
okay.
down their core, and that's it.
All right, that was my question. I was just wondering.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? Oh, that's it? Oh, all right. All right, now we will have miscellaneous business and reports from council. Councilman Lang, do you have anything?
Nothing this evening.
Councilman Minnick?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilwoman Greenfield?
Go vote.
Councilwoman Waring?
Thank you, Council President. Tonight's a tough meeting, right? Doing due diligence is difficult. Doing due diligence requires asking tough questions, having tough conversations. I've always approached a decision that if you're not feeling like it is hard, you're probably not thinking about it from the right aspect. So thank you to everybody who came out tonight, who provided information, who answered the tough questions, who sat in the hot seat. We can't make a good decision without all the information, and sometimes it doesn't always look or feel or sound pretty. And so I want to make sure that everybody knows that we really truly do appreciate all of the time and the thought and the effort that went into tonight's presentation and everything that these groups do for the city. So I'm sorry it was a tough meeting, but sometimes that's necessary. But it certainly does not reflect on how we feel about the work you're doing for the city. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Rayleigh?
I'd echo those comments. I think going into this that I always go forward with the presumption that everyone involved is well-intentioned and well-meaning, and I've heard nothing in this process to vary that presumption. My questions are simply to get information. It's not to put you on the spot, it's not to make you feel bad. It's just to get information. With that being said, I would say past weekend, I had a nice time at First Communion at St. Angela Merici with many Fairview Park residents. It was a lot of fun. My daughter Caroline made it. I was very proud of her for that day, and every day. I'll make that very clear. Also, a nice thing for Ward 5, I'm going to start doing quarterly newsletters. Some of you will get those in the mail soon.
Thank you. Councilwoman Ma'am?
Yes, I also want to thank Councilman Rayleigh for asking a lot of in-depth questions. It's nice not being the one that's causing a lot of upset from the administration.
Hear you.
Yes. So thanks for drawing fire. Yeah, I agree. Go vote tomorrow. Thank you all for coming out tonight.
Great, thank you. Yes, thank you everyone for coming out tonight to our meeting. And Megan, if you could pass along another thank you for everyone, all of the experts who came. And thank you, Megan and Caitlin, for putting together that presentation and getting it out to us. There being no further business to come before council this evening, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second? My announcement. Oh,
About the
I
special meeting.
apologize. Before we do that, council held an executive session on April 20th and 27th, 2026, per Charter Article 15, Section 3, conferences with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court actions. Now, there being no further business coming before council, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Minnick?
Yes.
Ms. Greenfield?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mrs. Waring?
Yes.
Mr. Rayleigh?
Yes.
Mrs. Mann?
Yes.
All right, our meeting is now adjourned.